For so many organizations, innovation feels like, well, like you're just waiting for lightning to strike. It's totally random. But what if you could actually build the lightning rod? That's what we're diving into today. We're going to lay out the blueprint to turn innovation from just a happy accident into a powerful, reliable engine for growth.
So take a second and think about where you work. Is that next big breakthrough something you're just hoping for, kind of a shot in the dark? Or could it be the predictable result of a well-oiled machine that you've actually built? I mean, we all want that control, right? That predictability. And the really good news? It's not just a nice idea. It's a system you can absolutely build.
And that's exactly what this is all about. This is your practical guide. We're going to break down a proven management system that takes those fuzzy, abstract ideas and turns them into real, tangible, and most importantly, repeatable results. All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to lay the foundation with solid planning. Then, we'll construct the structure to support everything. After that, we'll talk about managing and balancing your portfolio. And finally, we'll cover the support you need to fuel the whole engine. Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, laying the foundation. We're talking about planning. And look, this is probably the most critical part. It's not just about sitting around and dreaming up cool ideas. It's about systematically taking that total uncertainty that always comes with innovation and flipping it into a landscape of real opportunity.
So, the real secret to great planning is all about reframing that uncertainty. Think of it like a coin. On one side, you've got all the risks, right? Stagnation, failing to meet your goals, all the bad stuff. But on the other side of that same coin, for every single risk, there's an opportunity, continuous improvement, actually hitting your targets. So the goal of your plan isn't to get rid of risk. That's impossible. It's to build a system that's always tamping down the bad stuff while boosting the good. Okay, so how do you actually do that? Well, it really boils down to a simple 5-step plan. You've got to answer 5 key questions. 1, what exactly is the work that needs to be done? 2, who is on the hook for it? 3, what resources are we going to need? 4, when will it be finished? You need those milestones. And 5, and this one is so crucial, how are we going to evaluate the results? You got to define that from day one. Answering these 5 questions, that's what takes you from a fuzzy hope to a solid, concrete plan.
All right, your plan is in place, but a great plan needs the right framework to actually live in, right? And that brings us to structure. Now this is where things can get a little tricky. The big question is, how do you build a system that lets that wild, bold creativity run free without completely messing up the day-to-day efficiency of your main business?
And that really is the core challenge, isn't it? It's this tension that every leader feels. Your main business, it's built to execute. It loves predictability, it loves efficiency. But game-changing innovation, it needs the complete opposite. It needs exploration, experimentation, and yeah, the freedom to fail. So how in the world do you get those two things to live together in the same organization?
Well, to solve this puzzle, we first have to get our heads around a really key concept: disruptive innovation. We're not talking about small tweaks or little improvements here. No, these are the radical, groundbreaking ideas that might even end up competing with your own products. And because they are so fundamentally different, they need a totally different kind of environment to have any chance of survival.
So here's the big takeaway, the solution. You don't try to force them into the same box. You can't. You have to create separate structures. Over here, you have your exploration teams. They're handling those wild, disruptive ideas. They need their own unique incentives, their own dedicated resources, and leaders who are comfortable with a ton of uncertainty. Then, over here, you have your execution teams. They're running the core business. They need stability, shared resources, and proven processes. It's a classic case of one size definitely not fitting all.
Okay, so you have a plan. You have the right structure. But chances are you're not just running one innovation project. You're probably juggling a bunch of them. So how do you steer all of them at once? Well, that's where managing the portfolio comes in. Just think of this as the master control panel for your entire innovation engine.
You see, a healthy innovation engine isn't about making one single giant bet. It's all about balance, just like a good investment portfolio. You need a mix of different projects. You've got your low-risk, short-term improvements that keep the lights on today. You've got your bigger, strategic, long-term bets. And you absolutely have to carve out a slice for those high-risk, potentially high-reward disruptive ideas. It's having that mix, that balance, that really secures your future.
So how can you do a quick health check on your own portfolio? Just ask yourself these questions. First, alignment. Are these projects actually lined up with our overall strategy? Then, synergy. Do these projects help each other out, or are they fighting? What about balance? Is our risk profile where we want it to be? Next, value. Are we getting the most bang for our buck with our resources? And finally, communication. Are we actually telling leadership what's going on? And this isn't something you do once a year. This is your ongoing dashboard.
All right, we're at our final component. We've got the plan, the structure is built, and we're managing the portfolio. But now we need to actually fuel the engine. This whole section is about support, the critical resources, the fuel that makes the whole thing go.
So where does this fuel come from? You've basically got three main options. You can build it, develop the skills and capabilities inside your own company. You can buy it, go out and acquire another company or a piece of tech, or you can borrow it by teaming up with strategic partners. And honestly, the smartest companies don't just pick one, they use a flexible mix of all three. But let's be crystal clear on one thing. You can have the world's best plan, the most perfect structure, and a blank check for funding, and your innovation engine will still go absolutely nowhere without the single most critical resource, your people. At the end of the day, this whole system runs on the talent, passion, and drive of the individuals you find, you empower, and you trust to make it all happen.
So there you have it. That's the blueprint for turning innovation from a game of chance into a reliable, manageable engine. We've walked through planning, structure, managing the portfolio, and getting the right support. Remember, the whole system really sings when all these parts are working together. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important question. Now that you have the blueprint, what part of your innovation engine are you going to build first?